Okay, exponential functions given two ordered pairs. So let's say we need to determine the formula of an exponential function in this form, y equals ab to the x power, that passes through these 2 points, and we need to find the value of a over b. Alright, we're going to start out with plugging in what we know. For instance, I know that this is an x value and this is a y value. So in my function y equals ab to the x power, this exponential formula, I'm going to plug in 4 for y. I'm going to plug in 1 for x, so it's ab to the first power. And then I'm going to do that same thing again for the other one. So this is an x, this is a y. So writing the same function down again, y equals ab to the x. Plug in 64 for y, plug in 3 for x. So now that I know this is true, I can write a proportion. So for example, I could say 4 is to 64 as ab to the first power is to ab to the third power. And then solving that proportion, I know 4 over 64, I could divide them both by 4 to make this a little simpler. And that would be 1 over 16. And then here I know my exponent rules, so that's really a times b times b times b. So the b's are going to cancel, the a's are going to cancel. So really, this just becomes 1/16 equals 1, because there's nothing on top, over b squared. And now to solve my proportion, I just cross multiply, so 16 equals b squared. And how do I solve for that? I take the square root. So the square root of 16 is 4, so b is 4. Now I know what b is, but I still don't know what a is. I'm supposed to find this ratio. So next I'm going to plug in my known values to find the a value. Alright, so what do you mean by that? Well, I can take any one of these functions that I've written. This is probably the easiest one, it has the smallest numbers. So 4 equals ab to the first power. Well, now I know that b is 4, so I can actually make that a 4 there. And that means times. So 4 to the first power is just 4. So this really just says 4 equals 4a. Divide by 4, and you guessed it, a equals 1. So now that I know a is 1, I can just write the ratio. So it's a over b. Well, a over b would be 1 over 4. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and try one on our own to make sure we have the concept. All right, go ahead and pause the video. So pause the video, try it on your own. And now for the solution. So we plugged in the x and the y, and we should have got 5 equals ab to the third, and 125 equals ab to the fifth. Then we wrote the proportion and got 5 over 125, which reduces to 1 over 25. And then we cross multiply. But before we do, we have to cancel the a's and then cancel the b's. And all the b's cancel, and then there's 2 left on the bottom. So really it becomes 1 over 25 equals 1 over b squared. Then we take the square root and we get b equals 5. And then we plug it back into one of our values. I'm going to choose this one. So the 5 equals ab to the third, but instead of putting a b there, I'm going to put a 5 there and plug it in. And actually there's a pretty quick way to do this one. I can just divide by 5 to the third. Divide by 5 to the third. I don't have to actually expand it out yet. And this really means that there's 3 5s on the bottom. 5 to the third means 5 times 5 times 5, so one pair of those cancel, so it's really 1 over 25 equals A. So now if I'm writing A over B, it's really 1/25 over 5. And what's my rule for dividing? I can multiply by the reciprocal. So if I multiply by the reciprocal of 5 is 1/5. So it's really 1/25 times 1/5, then it becomes 1 over 125. Hopefully you got that.